Hi, Saints. Um, well, I'm stepping back into the QAnon stuff. This isn't my sweet spot, right? I'm better at and probably should just stick to the biblical stuff. But there is, a last days kind of tie into this, and I had a instant message with Pastor Patrick, his thoughts on the QAnon, and he thinks, it's legit that it's somebody next to Trump that's sort of forecasting this operation that's going on that would roll up the dark players in government and beyond, right? The corruption, the pedophilia, the whole nine. And that's exactly what I hope is going on. That's exactly what I pray. We're supposed to pray for our government administration and all that. And I just pray that that is exactly what's happening. I always have caution on everything because there's deception promised, in the last days, and in the context of that passage, that even the elect could be deceived, I think has more to do within the tribulation period. But my radar's always up, right, Saints? And I think yours would be too, or is. But there was a big series of posts from this QAnon character back on the 13th of the month here. And he points to all sorts of things, like he shows, apparent money trail of wire transfers from Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and the Clintons to offshore accounts and in foreign currency and all that. And then he said in a little later post, that watch his post and compare it to the news that comes out, especially this week. I guess there's going to be some more news coming out, and he talks about the future proving the past. And so I think he's trying to say, when these news stories hit, you can compare them to my posts and know that I'm giving you the the legitimate information, which he's already done some of that. And so that's why I think people are getting more and more confidence that he is a source somewhere close to the president or the Department of Justice or whatever, that he's able to do this. And so I get a little bit more confident all the time that, this operation is real or legit, that, something, the storm is happening. But, I have got my radar up all the time. But I just wanted to drill in on this thing that happened in Hawaii and maybe get you guys to comment down below a little bit. But what a scary thing, right? They receive on their cell phones and on some of the highway message boards that there's an inbound ballistic missile, take shelter. And I think the warning was out there 38 minutes before they gave the all clear. And this QAnon, in his post, I'm just going to use this screenshot. I'm not going to go through it because there was post after post after post, but he was basically pointing to, there it is, DEFCON 1, so, the active inbound nuclear missile, non-nuke, and it was a false. And then he says, command, question mark, why, question mark, necessary, no such agency. Where did POTUS stop? Post Asia. Answers Hawaii. It was necessary for God and country. It was necessary. No other vehicle to regain entry. Now in a snapshot of these posts, there was another one that said, do you trust, in all caps, the chain of command? And there was, I think, 2 references like that to the military. And so people have been interpreting what happened here in Hawaii a couple of different ways, but the one that I was watching this morning, a person was speculating, well, Trump or the government or whatever needed to do this as a test of the emergency alert, because now when we attack North Korea, we have to be sure that we can warn the citizens when there's a legit incoming threat. And I think, boy, if we're getting real intel here from this QAnon character, I don't think that's what he's trying to say. I think what he's trying to say is that we had to let that false flag alert go out there to test the chain of command. I think that's what he's pointing to. And I'll just throw down my little theory, but you guys can weigh in down below. I think they let well, first off, it's a joke that somebody could oops and just hit the wrong key and this alert goes out, right? That seems like just a ridiculous scenario, because somebody has to validate the legitimacy of the incoming missile, call the command center, get the wording right in terms of what the threat is, and then the alert goes out. There's way too many things, and I'm sure there's a series of checks within whatever command center before somebody hits the accidental button for the thing to go out. And so I just can't believe the story that's being told. But here's my thought on this is, what if it was known that some bad actors in the government or from outside foreign government that's trying to influence our government actually was planning a false flag nuclear attack, and let's say the good guys within the government caught up with it, somehow stopped the actual attack, but let everybody believe that was going to happen and go down the way it had been planned. And the reason for doing something like that is you could identify in the chain of command then who is supporting the launch of the nuke missile, who's supporting the alerts going out and all that, and they would expose themselves as being in allegiance to whatever bad actor or foreign group was actually trying to send the missile, was actually trying to do the false flag. You would expose them. And I think that's why this thing went out like it did, and why it actually got to the point where the alert went to the Hawaiians and they actually had to see it, is because it had to be real. You had to get to the point of where somebody actually had a conspiracy for murder of, in this case, thousands of people, right? And that in itself would be a chargeable offense to roll the bad actors up into jail. That, and I'm sure among other things. And so I think that's what's behind this thing, Saints, but that's just my 2 cents on it. Let me show you one other thing that kind of leads into all this. NBC here had this character. Now, this is High Impact Flicks if you want to go watch this video, but he caught it or somebody told him about this, but NBC News, the day before that alert went out, sent this reporter into the bunker in Hawaii asking the commander there, what would you do if North Korea launched a missile and was about to attack Hawaii? The exact scenario. And so he's calling, no joy on this alert, because obviously it was known in advance, and this is, NBC News. And I agree with that. And so I think, that lends support to the idea there's bad actors that had this planned in advance, just like there's, Simpson cartoons on 9/11 a decade before it happened, and, the Boston bombing, a year before it happened, whatever. All these things were forecasted and somebody covered it. Or, in this case, the day before the alert goes out, this genius is in the bunker saying, what if this happened? I just think it's hooey. And so here, this is why, in my mind, this is the bad actors, including, the media that supports them. Here they're trying to, do their little forecasting, mocking people, because tomorrow the alert goes out. In my mind, this is what gives sort of credence to the idea of they let this alert go out to expose all these bad actors and make them complicit in, conspiracy for murder of, the thousands of Hawaiians that would have died in a potential attack. So that's where I'm coming to, saints. I hope and pray that all of this is real in terms of the bad actors are being rolled up, and that we see announcements this week that they're starting to jail some of these folks, and that they're taking them down, because I think it could be used as a last days revival when if it was exposed that the Luciferianism behind the pedogate and behind the corruption in government, wouldn't that, if there's that darkness, wouldn't that sort of point to that then there is light? And at the end of the day, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, right, saints? The passage in there. So in the end of the day, this is a dark versus light world, and this would just expose that that's what's behind some of these things. And then you got in this QAnon series of tweets, he actually put at the end, Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you. And that was obviously something given for Jeremiah, but most people, I got the quote hanging on a wall in my bathroom, so most people apply it that's the way God feels towards us, and I agree. So let's hope, sweet saints, that this is a good versus evil thing, and that we're going to see the roll up of some of these bad actors that leads into a last days harvest, because that'd be a huge blessing. But leave me your notes down below. Tell me what you think on all this. God bless.